6, and we're coming back from closed session. I'm going to report out first before we do the pledge, because it seems like I do it anyway, no matter how it's on there. So we discussed expulsions on 4.1. We discussed the cease and desist letter that Member Thomas gave us on at the July 8th meeting, and I'll be reading a statement before we vote on 10.1, to kind of break that down a little bit. So, and we discussed public appointment for the principal at New Memorial High School, and we got an update on the conference with labor negotiators. That's it. Okay, so it's time to do the pledge. If you would kindly join me, I'd appreciate it. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it's great having Cesar here for one more year with us. And that'll be 2 years with us. That's great. It's always easier when we have our student board member for 2 years. Okay, it's time for public comment on non-agenda items. 6.1. Mr. Betts? Mr. Betts.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm addressing you today not as an employee of the district that was placed on administrative leave for speculative reasons, only to be told that all charges were dropped when I asked to be heard by the board in open session. I'm speaking to you today as a citizen who is concerned about the education of students and welfare of the teachers that are working with them. It appears that the omission of standards and best practices in regards to the district's hiring processes have placed the Newark Unified School District in a further declining state, and I'm asking the board to look into the current hiring practices of the district. I'll use my own experiences as a candidate with the district, the apparent abandonment of time-honored and committee-based decision-making practices in the most recent searches for a new high school principal and faculty to fill the void of departing teachers to illustrate my assertions. In April and May of 2018, I, along with several other candidates for the principal position, sat before not one, but 2 committees of no less than 10 stakeholders to discuss our respective candidacies. We appeared before those students, parents, teachers, board members, site and district administrators to discuss our beliefs that we were the best candidate for the job. Why has this year's search abandoned those practices, and why, after advertising for 4 months, the only person still holding their hand up for the position is the one presenting right now? Hours before the board voted 4-1 to authorize the district to offer the most recent candidate the position, that candidate, and only that candidate, appeared before a committee consisting of the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and director of human resources. That committee met with the candidate for only 1 hour before putting her name up for approval of the board. When the nominee declined the appointment, the district further moved away from best practices and nominated an interim principal from the district office with only a preliminary admin credential and no experience as either a principal or assistant principal. How might the decision to omit the base level qualification of a minimum 2 years experience as an assistant principal further damage the reputation of the district, and what legal actions might result from choosing to ignore the base level of competency and qualifications that was posted on the job description? I want to make it clear that my question is not a reflection of Ms. Rangel or her abilities. She's an excellent special education administrator, and the void she leaves will surely be felt throughout the district. Likewise, the school district is abandoning its processes when looking for qualified teachers. At the high school level, there appears to be no input from department chairs, teachers, parents, or students. Just a minimum number of people and no representation of Newark Memorial High School. How is this an example of the district's core values of academic excellence, student-centered learning, shared accountability, teamwork, or even transparency? Thank you. I finally want to acknowledge the police department that's been here every time I've been present at the meeting. Officer Todd is a good friend of mine. We share a colleague together, so I thank her for being here.
Thank you. Ms. Linda Stonenanussen? I apologize if I messed up your name.
No worries. Close enough. All right. So
Happy summer.
I'll make this short. I just wanted to respond. I had submitted a uniform complaint regarding the handling of the termination of Principal Bretts. And there's just a couple of things that I want to address of some reasons that were given, which was submitted by Letitia. So I'm going to butcher that.
Salinas.
Okay. So, second one is saying that I was not put in on time. Okay, that there's a month deadline. Well, how are we supposed to do that? It was all a big secret. We all thought that he did something major wrong. And you guys relished in that. When in fact, he didn't do anything wrong at all. You guys were actually going to bring him back, which everybody wants you to. I shouldn't say everybody, but a large majority of people want to bring him back. Second one, I had a failure to meet and resolve this matter with Ms. Savendra or the superintendent. Again, how were we supposed to bring that up? Not in a timely fashion, but myself and several others have been coming up here, it seems like on deaf ears constantly. Third one, that it doesn't directly involve me. I have 2 kids in the district. I have one who's going to be a senior, another one who's in 8th grade. I got 5 more years of dealing with all this crap. It's ridiculous. This is not only insulting, but it's a bunch of logistical crap in this response that you guys gave. It's not right. And I ask that you, again, bring him back. It's a mess. You're running the show, Mr. Sanchez. You should be in that seat if you can't find somebody until you find somebody appropriate. The kids are running amok. The teachers are getting hassled. Other students are getting hassled. Why don't you walk those hallways? That's what a leader would do. Fill the holes. That's it. So I would like to submit this, so you can post that on your district website for everybody to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we move to the superintendent's report, 7.1. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Rodriguez, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I have a few items today for my report. First of all, I do want to start by clarifying something that was in the patch, and thanks to, I know a few people had pointed that out to us, but the first day of school is August 15th. I want to just reiterate that. It is on our website. It is on our district calendar, and I think it's important to mention that, and I just want to clarify that. The next item is the CSBA annual conference will be December 5th through 7th in San Diego. If any board members plan to attend, we'd like to know so that we can begin making plans so we can get the early bird pricing on that. I am recommending to send our administrative or executive assistant, Ms. Aquino. I know last year she wasn't able to go just because we had a lot going on here. I think this year might be a better time to send her to get that executive assistant training. And she's not been able to attend that since she began her new position, and I think that it would be very helpful now. I think she would even have better questions for the training. A great learning and networking experience for her as well to meet other executive assistants. So if you think about that, the dates again are December 5th through 7th in San Diego. Just let us know or email Shar, check your calendars. We don't need to do that now, but just keep that date in mind. I also want to report that our Parent Help Center has been open from July 1 to Monday, August 5th. We had over 100 families come through. I wanted to, on the record, thank Alina Baggio, David Mellons, who worked all summer making this a great success. Additional thanks to Hillary White and Emily Baca for also working hard on the phone bank, personally calling all families that needed to register online. When we began the center, we had over 900 families that needed to register online. As of today, we've dropped that number to 500. As of this week, we have 52 new elementary enrolled students into our schools. Of course, until our school year begins and we get a better idea of where the enrollment is, we won't know exactly how that impacts our bottom line, but we are making efforts to improve and streamline registration. So just wanted to report that back to you. Next item to update the board. In keeping our enrollment campaign going, we'd like to share with you that we are beginning actually tomorrow, Friday, August 2nd. We have a promotional video we did for the district, and it'll be shown at the AMC 12 at the New Park Mall. Do we have that video to show tonight? Let me show you the promo that we're going to be sharing at the theaters in New Park Mall.
Embraces a high-quality 21st century curriculum that is preparing students to graduate college and be career-ready. We value learning experiences and instructional approaches that focus on critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. We believe in a culture of innovation that empowers children to realize they can change the world. Join our Newark community. For more information about enrollment, visit newarkunified.org.
So we wanted to share that with the board before we share it with our staff. We'll be initiating that marketing tomorrow and continue that pressure for, I think, 6 weeks. Is that the contract? 4 weeks. So it's kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, marketing and customer service as well.
Superintendent, can I
Yes.
just say the video looks great? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you to whoever worked on it.
Belair and Shar largely had a lot to do with that getting done.
And whoever our speaker is as well.
Yeah, yes. The next item is really kind of a public service announcement, also to let the board know that we're also following up with further community engagement. We'll be having a welcome back rally on Tuesday, August 13th at 3:30 for all employees and parents that are involved in a committee at each of our sites. So I've talked to the principals today. They'll be inviting not only site councils and ELAC, DLAC, they'll be inviting those committees to attend the half-hour program. Really is talking about the message for the year. Then after that half-hour program, we're inviting the entire Newark residents to attend from 4 to 6 if they'd like to stop by for a hot dog, a bag of chips, and some water, and just to meet the staff, and just to have an opportunity to have staff engage with the community without an agenda set. So that'll be a nice event. We'll have students, some surprise student performances, and just another way to kind of interact with the community. I know that was something that was important for the board and direction I got from my evaluation that I'm following up on. The postcards will be received by residents of Newark, and we're going to be sending them out in bulk mail. Shar did a great job working to make sure we had flyers for the community as well. So those are coming soon. We're going to have schools there with a table per school with their new brochures that have been created by the Belair marketing firm, and just some shirts to identify a lot of the staff and leaders and managers that they'll be wearing this week. But we're asking principals just to showcase their school, which is very easy, and ask their parents to be part of it. So it should be fun for the community. There's no cost. We were able to pull it off for less than $3,500. How much? To feed, estimating 1,500 people. So we did work the numbers as hard as we can, and we will have a vegan, vegetarian option before anyone asks that. So I just wanted to update you on that. So we're excited to have that come forward. We also have finished shooting recently a welcome back video for all employees and parents, just relative to the school year and the consistent with the message that we're doing with principals around equity and working as a team going forward. So some good things are really happening, so I'm really glad to report that we're just executing some of the direction the board gave me. I know community engagement's a big concern for all board members, and we've actually had a good team of people working on that. And Valera's been excellent in working with us. So barring if any questions on any of that, I'd be glad to answer at this time.
No, I wanted to ask you, on the CSBA, board members and myself have decided a few years back that we would pay for our own way we wanted to go. Having new board members, we do have a board budget now, so I don't want the money to be a problem as far as them not attending, because it's important for them to attend.
Okay.
So if I'll bring it up during board request to see what the budget is, and
We can do that.
okay, if you don't mind. Okay.
No problem.
But the fact that in San Diego, I don't, 2-3 day conference, I don't think, I've always felt that, I'm blessed so that I can afford to go if I want to, and not infringe on the budget. Okay, you done with your report?
That concludes my report.
Okay.
If there's no further questions.
Thank you
Thank
much.
you.
So we go to employee organizations. Do we have anybody here from NTA? CSEA, the classified, and NUMA. Okay. So we move to old business, City of Newark and Newark Unified School District licensing agreement. McGregor Field, Member Gutierrez wanted this on here. She's our, leads our two board members that are on that committee, both Member John and Member Gutierrez. It's on you.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted this on this meeting is because our next meeting is, with the city liaison meeting is in September. So I was hoping to be able to get the board to vote on this, so then we can be ready on our end, and then just take it over to the city, and once we get their, hopefully their approving vote, then this will be effective. One thing I did want to state is, if, just recalling back to the last meeting that this item was brought up, we, as a board, had decided that it was going to be a 5-year contract from the date it was signed. So just wanted to clarify, I don't know if it's clarify or maybe get agreement, that make sure that we're still in agreement from what we had said before, which is 5-year contract, and it will be dated as of the next city liaison meeting. I need to confirm the date, but I almost want to say September 15-ish. So otherwise, if we're ready to go, we can vote on this.
Okay, so,
President Rodriguez, if I may?
Yes.
Add to that. And I think part of our intent as well is we want to just double check that everybody's okay with the 5 years. We know the draft doesn't reflect that, as it is a draft. But before we go to the city liaisons, we would make the appropriate changes as you guys give some direction tonight, so that is reflected appropriately when we do take the draft to the city liaisons meeting, so that we have one more chance to look at it. And the board's intent was always to make sure it was public, the whole drafting process. So it's a little messy, but it's going to be okay when we get to the final product.
And just to clarify, actually, Superintendent, this is a draft, but all the terms and everything on there, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but all the terms and everything on there has been agreed upon. I believe the only thing we have to include is the set date, which would be the city liaison meeting. So at this point.
And it's been reviewed by legal.
And it has been reviewed by legal,
Yes.
correct. So that's what I'm saying. Because it has been reviewed by legal, I believe all the terms on there are accurate.
Right.
It is a draft because we don't have a date on there, but if we as a board move forward with this, this will be the final draft to be submitted to the city to approve and finally get acted on. If the board has any questions.
Member John? No, I don't. Okay, I just wanted to add, the agreement that we've had with the city kind of expired years ago, and it's just been continued. And basically, they pay $1 a year, and then they control the 10 acres at the McGregor site. And a lot of kids play soccer there, and it's used for Newark Days for parking. So, so we're asking that there be a change. And did you want to, we've already discussed it. Did you want to
Yeah,
go over what the change?
ultimately, what we're asking is for the city of New York to pay the water bill.
That's it.
And the city.
50,000, right?
No, it's an average.
Yeah,
So it's not, yeah,
Right.
so it's an average of about $50,000, obviously, because it's not exactly,
Right.
it will variate. But, so it will be an estimate of about $50,000 save to to the school district. And again, this is something that the city of Newark agreed to take on. And again, if there is no questions, everything, all the terms and everything has been agreed upon. The date will be the city liaison meeting. And if there are no further questions, I move that we vote on this matter.
Okay. Go ahead.
On the date, the 1987. So if you look at the first page, June 25th, 1987.
That was when we originally
Okay, I
So
see.
so the recitals are basically kind of saying the history of it. So whereas in the city and the district enter into an agreement back when, in the 87, and that's why, just to, giving some history on it, they had an agreement in 87 for a 20-year contract for $1 a year.
Right.
Once the 20 years passed by, it did expire. So the 20-year passed on and expired. However, the contract was never renewed, so the city just continued paying as is their $1.
Exactly.
Finally, I believe it was 2 years ago, this issue was brought up, and it was finally discussed that the city will agree to pay the water. It has taken a while, again, just to agree on the terms, get it approved by legal, and we finally have come up with something that both the city and the district have come to a consensus with. And again, legal has also approved the term, so
Right.
if, again.
Yeah, it's gone back and forth, and, you know, the original agreement was 2007, so, you know, we've been trying to get this moved forward, because for those of us that either are landlords or we rent, normally you pay your own utilities, so it's all we're asking, and the city's okay with that.
Yes.
So that being said, again, if there are no further questions, I move that we vote on this.
Can I just, before we vote, as everybody can see, there's only 3 of us here, so, and our student member. So anything, the 3 of us, board members, would have to vote yes on it. If not, it's not approved, okay? And then it would have to be brought back, okay? Okay, that being said, then you want to make a motion?
I made a motion, I will wait for the second.
Okay, we need a second? Okay. Member Gutierrez motions, Member John seconds. Please vote. Okay, motion passes 4 ayes.
Thank you,
Good.
guys.
Now you can move forward with that.
Just to,
I,
if I might speak on it now that it's been voted on.
Yeah, go ahead.
We will clean up the language on the dates. We will reline it to what the board direction has been, and we will have it checked one last time by legal before we go to city liaison meeting.
Thank you.
And add the water bill.
Okay.
So, if I just may add,
Go
in
ahead.
mid-September, we'll take a contract. It sounds like we are in agreement, and we can hand them our water bill then.
Got it. Okay, appreciate that. Okay. 9.2, security locks district-wide, Superintendent?
Yes, this is an item that we were asked to bring back, and I know Ms. Condon has done some due diligence as directed by the board to get further legal advice. We are within the parameters, as you can see in the language, for the locks. Let me look at it real. So this is one we're bringing back. So the first question that was legally, just to remind you, was that the vendor was GSA approved. That's correct per legal. And I think the rest of the parameters of us being able to go forward were explained prior, but it's pretty straightforward. But I know Ms. Condon's here, should there be any specific questions from the board.
Okay. We don't have anybody that wants to speak on this, so I need a motion in a second or discussion. 9.2, the staff recommends the board approve the purchase of new technology upgrade security locks.
I move to I
Member-
move to approve the
Member
purchase.
John moves,
I'll second it.
Member Gutierrez seconds. Please vote. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is new business, 10.1, cabinet salary schedule. We have a speaker on this, Ms. Parks?
Good evening. The newly proposed salary schedule reflects an increase for the superintendent and associate superintendent effective July 2018 and does not reflect any increase in salary to the chief business official. Yet the original salary schedule signed by the superintendent on February 7th gives all three the 0.5% increase. Did all three individuals get the 0.5% pay increase retroactive to July 1, 2018? If so, how can this 2018-2019 salary schedule exclude the CBO position from the 0.5% pay increase? And if the CBO position is not to garner the 2018-2019 0.5% increase, why does the current job posting on EdJoin include that increase?
Can you have a seat just for a second and I'll read this? Oh, you can stay there.
No, sorry.
Did you want me?
Just wanted to clarify, Ms. Parks, were you done with your statement?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Okay.
then I
Can
think
I read
after-
this?
No, I think after she finishes and sits down, then you should be able to
Yeah.
read your statement.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I'd like to see if I could get answers to my question regarding this.
Well, let me
item
read
that's
this.
on the
Unfortunately,
agenda.
Ms. Parks, we don't.
Excuse me, I think he's the president.
Right.
Yes, he is, and
Yeah.
I'm also a board member who has the right to reply. So as current practice that we have is we don't reply directly to public comment, and
Public
however.
comment on a non-agenda item, ma'am. This
All
is an
right.
agenda item.
Okay, so I'll read the statement. Okay, you can stand if you want. Tonight, the board is considering the salary schedule for the positions of superintendent, associate superintendent, and chief business official retroactive to July 1st, 2018. During the last board meeting on July the 8th, Member Thomas raised concerns about inclusion of this salary schedule with the NUMA salary schedule on the February 7th, 2019 board meeting. While the salary schedule properly included an increase for the associate superintendent based on the increase for NUMA members, due to some confusion surrounding the contracts of the superintendent and chief business official, the salary schedule also included adjustments for these cabinet members. There was no evidence, however, to suggest that there was any intent to deceive the public or the board. To clarify this issue, the board is again considering the cabinet salary schedule as a separate open session item. In advance of this item, the board is required to provide an oral summary of the salary schedule recommended for final action this evening. The salary schedule provides the following salaries for each position effective July 1st, 2018. Superintendent, $239,859. Associate Superintendent, $191,720. Chief Business Official, it's a range of $158,523 to $197,666. As noted in the board agenda, the schedule reflects an automatic 0.5% increase for the Associate Superintendent based on her contract, and the increase provided to NUMA, as well as point increase for the superintendent based on the increase provided to the Newark Teachers Association. It does not reflect any increase for the chief business official. Okay. Did you want to finish?
Well, it still doesn't address the fact that if you gave the raise to the CBO, if he received it based on the February 7th document that was signed, you have paid him that money, and you're approving something that says that he did not get it. And what you have posted online for the current opening shows that he gets that increase. So if you don't approve the 0.5 for the CBO, you have an incorrect posting for your current job opening, is my point. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. This letter was given to us by attorney who's been working on this for the last, since the last board meeting, and,
That's correct.
okay. Okay.
So Superintendent, is it true that the current job posting for CBO reflects this increase, or
I will check.
or we should correct that one?
I will check that.
But the posting should not reflect this increase, right? Because CBO is excluded from the, because the CBO is not part of the 0.5% increase.
I'm happy to answer that if you want to step back into closed session.
Because the CBO
We have to-
has left us, right? Okay,
I think the answer is the answer we're given by legal, and
right.
that's what the answer is.
Yeah, this was given us by legal, Member John.
But I will check, to your point.
When a cease and desist letter is given, and in this case, Member Thomas stepped to the podium and addressed us as a community member. She gave us the two letters. Because this is anticipated litigation, which very rarely happens, but we have no choice but to get legal involved to help us through the allegations that were in those two letters, and that's what's been happening. It's expensive, legal. It's not, so this costs us over $15,000 just to deal with this particular item. Okay. Legal fees. Okay. So, so we have 10.1 is up. Are you?
Did we take a vote?
Is Mr. Schumer going to talk on?
Is he going to talk on it, or
is that a
is this up
separate?
there?
No, he's ready for the next
Thank
item.
you.
He's ready for the next item.
He's getting ready. Okay, so we have 10.1. It's a new business item for the cabinet salary schedule. I've already read the letter, and discussion and action on proposed retroactive 2018-2019 salary schedule for the superintendent, chief business official, and associate superintendent of ed services. Okay.
I move that we vote on this item.
Okay. Member Gutierrez moves.
I'll second it.
Member John seconds. That's the.
No, student does not vote.
Student does not vote on this, right? Okay.
No.
Hold on, let
First,
me-
second.
Okay, let me open it again. Okay, hold on, I need to. Okay, can you vote again, please? Just the three of us.
I think you need to clear it.
Did I clear it? Okay, let me clear it. Okay, open for voting. Okay. Okay, motion passes 3 ayes. Thank you. 10.2, the day budget, 45-day budget revision that's required after the governor signs the budget in June. Okay. Oh, Superintendent, would you do me a favor and to the community introduce our
Certainly.
CBO?
I'd like to introduce our interim CBO, Barry Schimmel, who comes to us with several years of experience and is now a retired CBO who is busier now in retirement probably than he was as a CBO. I've limited the days that I'm able to contract with him, but it's nice to have him here, and welcome, Barry, to our team.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Sanchez.
Okay, we're ready when you're ready.
Okay, we got a little ahead of ourselves. there.
Welcome to Newark.
Thank you. Can we go back to the beginning? There you go. And enlarge it just a little bit. Up at the, I think if we go to the slideshow, you'll. Oh, okay. That would be me. Thank you. Okay, I appreciate it. This evening, we're required, we're going to accomplish two things. Number one, meet the letter of the law and the 45-day requirement, and inform the board of our balance. And to cut to the bottom line, so you know where we're going, we're about $200,000 plus more in expenditures than you were in June when you adopted the budget. So we're looking at meeting the Ed Code requirement that says that if you make a change in the budget after the governor signs it, and he signed it on June 27th, you have until August 11th. And kudos to Kim Loyola for being able to accomplish that. We're 10 days early. The first item is looking at the CalSTRS. That's the certificated employees contribution that the district must make. We shared with the board and the legislature shared with us that that would be 16.7%. When the budget was actually enacted, it came out 40 basis points or approximately 0.5% more. So we have to account for that. And I'll show you what the actual dollars are on the next slide. This is for our classified employees. And the budget assumption used was 20.73, and it actually came in 1 point lower. And initially you go, that's great. But when you look at the two groups of employees, it's about 75% certificated, 25% classified. So there will be a net loss, and I'll show you that in a moment. We also, as a district, provided to our CSEA in June, there was not a salary increase, and the board took action to increase salaries by 1%. And that includes salary and benefits, because when you increase salary, if there's a percentage, the statutories also go up, because you pay a percentage of what the salary is. And then the same thing on the next slide, and I believe, Kim, that both of those are not CSEA. Should, they're, thank you.
The increase in the salary.
So one is retro for last school year that took place, and then that increase continues into this school year. Thank you. And then the lottery dollars actually went up a couple dollars. So what do all those percentages look like in terms of real numbers, dollars? We received $11,000 more in lottery money. The increase in CalSTRS is costing the district $107,000 more. The decrease in CalPERS only equated to $57,000. So you can see we're about short 50,000 if you subtract the two. The next item is our CSEA retro, 89,000, and CSEA for this year, that 89,000 pushes ahead, but when you give a raise from the previous year, it also increases because the raise goes on. So there's a net increase in our expenditures of $217,338. So let's go back and look at what the board adopted before June 30th. You have $11,000 in more money, and that's your total. But your expenditures increased quite a bit more. And so the net increase or decrease is shown here. And that 217,000 gets added to this number, which brings it almost to $2,400,000, which means we are using our reserves to fund this year's activities. And it'll also show your beginning balance and your ending balance. And now your ending balance comes down $217,000. And so we're going to need to monitor our budget very carefully this year, because we would like to see if we can get this back to zero. In other words, if we earn this much money from the state, we should try to spend this much money and not dip into your savings, because eventually you won't have any savings. So it takes a look at the cumulative effect, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this page because it's going to change in December again. And it's the cumulative effect of $217,000 grows, and basically the concept for the public to understand, if we spend $1 more this year that we don't have, we borrowed it from someplace. And if we're going to then don't make any changes, that dollar has to be replaced plus the new dollar for the next year. So $1 you deficit spend the following year becomes $2. And $2 becomes $4, and that's a very important concept for the public to understand. So if you see the resulting reserves, they are also in our calculation going to go down over this year by 217,000. And what I just talked about, if we don't make any changes, it goes down and it goes down, and you can see how dramatically you're going to begin to take a look at the district savings account. Some considerations from School Services of California, which represents probably 900 of 1,000 school districts in the state. They need to look at what is called staffing. And are you staffing to formula? And closely monitor that staffing, because the largest expense in a budget is staffing. It's not energy, PG&E bills, it's not pencils, it's not insurance. It's people. We're a people business. 85% of your budget, plus or minus a bit, is in people. Staffing and expenditures must be carefully monitored, and the great part about Newark is our education department and our human resources department and our business department. Those three individuals that report to the superintendent are in constant communication. We may squabble among ourselves like a family, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to present you a balanced budget. Additional funding for our special education. This is not unique to Newark. Every school district in the state of California has to make a contribution to special education. And then additional funding you can see for our 3 to 5 year olds with IEPs. The logistics still need to be worked out. Special ed is almost like a budget monitored daily. So what are our next steps? Our unaudited actuals, and that's what the business department through Kim's leadership with the whole staff is working on. June 30th passed. And it takes the month of July and part of August to close the books, get final numbers, so that we can bring to you, and I will present that with Kim in September to you before September 15th, likely our September 15th meeting. What did actually last year happen? Not what we proposed a year ago, not what we did at the interim, not what we told you in June, but really what are the actual numbers? And we will compare that. And then in December, we'll get a first interim report. The importance of that is that's driven by your enrollment. What did we project last March, April, May, June? What really came in August, September? Because that drives your revenue. Did we have any unexpected expenditures? Did a big pipe burst or something of that nature, which would have an effect on the budget? In January, while we present our actual numbers, they must be audited by an outside audit firm, and you've had that in the past. They will come and present. In March, we give you a second interim report of how we're doing this year, and beginning in January, the new CBO will start January of 20, start planning for what your budget looks like for the 2021 school year. You've approved your budget, so it's kind of on automatic pilot at this point. We need to begin thinking about next year now so that you have time to discuss and make changes. May I entertain any questions the board might have? It couldn't have been that clear. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Schimel, so the previous CBO, before he left, he mentioned about what we encumbered in the 2018-2019 fiscal year, and I look at the beginning balance. Right now, we're assuming that starting the new fiscal year, I believe our beginning balance is going to be about 4.2 million.
Which slide are you calling?
I'm referring to slide number. What is it? Yes, revised general fund budget. Yeah.
Okay. You're looking at slide 3? Yeah. farther down?
Yeah, I mean, on this one, it's hard to see the slide number. 1, 2, 3, 5. I'm actually looking at the revised general fund budget.
That one.
Yeah, this one.
7, you said? 5? Okay, this one. All right.
Yeah, yes, this one. So I know we have yet to close the book for the 2018-2019 fiscal years, but do you have any educated guess about where the beginning balance will be landing on after we close the book and compute all the encumbrance?
It would be exactly what you said, a guess, because I haven't driven the budget, so I don't want to guess. Most districts that plan their budget, the bottom line should be 1% better as a rule of thumb, if you're doing it correctly. It shouldn't be a surprise that it's negative. Might be a little bit of a pleasant surprise that the ending balance is a little bit higher.
I see.
And the reason for that is somebody may not have expended money this last school year.
I see.
I have a question, Mr. Schimmel. Just, I know your time with us currently has been short, but have you made any suggestions to our staff that you may, whether you have or you haven't, but whether you, that you can share with us in regards to how we can make sure that this number doesn't increase?
I think one of the suggestions that we're looking at is this team here has to work together very closely to recommend to our superintendent actions that he will bring to the board
Okay,
to keep it there.
okay,
And education's difficult. It's a heartfelt business. We want to do the best for our students. But the reality is, you as a board are limited to what Sacramento gives you to spend. And if you go farther than they give you, then we should probably all not be here. And the reason being is that's our fiduciary responsibility. So that may make some tough decisions. When instructionally, it's a good program for kids, but we can't afford it. We all have to kind of stick together and stay within our budget. That's suggestion 1. 2, we may need to look at different things of how a district operates that might be a little more efficient. And then there's always a collective bargaining element to that.
thank you.
Before we take a motion and vote on this, Mr. Jimmo, could you just sit back here for a second?
Sure.
Ms. Parks had wanted to address us on this. Did you still want to come up? Okay.
Thought maybe you forgot about me.
No, never. And
Actually, that really plays into what I was going to say. I just wanted to remind you about the concerns about position control, that on your budget, you had 286 certificated, 181 classified, and 45 NUMA. And that was where you were looking to do your budget cuts. You cut 13 positions, or 12, 13 positions. And to just know that that is something that it seems like where you had made cuts before with staffing, that they never seemed to actually happen or they grew. And if you look at the PAL for tonight, there's over a page of positions that are temporary. And just to know that that is the concern, is to watch your staffing levels, and because that's where a lot of the money, that and professional services, it seems last year, where the money seemed to go. So again, keeping an eye on that budget.
Okay,
And
thank
thanks
you.
for the presentation.
thank you. I think you'll find for the whole community that we're very excited to have Mr. Schimmel here. And he brings a lot of experience, and this is a time where, especially with going through, potential more budget cuts, they really need an experienced person. So we're very happy to have you. With that, any more discussion? I need a motion and a second. Staff recommends
We
the
may have
board
one more
receive
speaker.
the report. So we're receiving the report as presented. Oh. Okay. Mr. Molina. Medina.
Thank you.
I keep messing up your name. Did you want to speak on this one?
On the budget?
Sure. Go ahead, you got 3 minutes.
I think it's critical that we, the board puts the bonds that we talked about last month into the agenda. We already see that the budget's already in the negative, and I think it's time for you guys to start really getting to the point of getting some activity going and realizing that I think the community would at least be interested in figuring out if this is a possibility that we can put down for the next election. And so I look forward to you guys getting it on the agenda, making it happen, and letting the community come and help, you know? Because if you're not, then it's on you guys, you know? I think there's a large community that wants to help, but if you guys are not putting it on the agenda, then I'll blame you guys all day long. I mean, I'm already blaming you guys for a lot of things, especially spending money that you guys don't have. I mean, I just heard you say $15,000 on legal fee because someone had to come around the podium. That's just incredible. You just lost $15,000. How? I mean, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. She's lucky she's not. Nancy's lucky she's not here today. I'm definitely very upset about that. I think that's wrong. It's just wrong. That's taking money away from kids.
We agree.
So I hope you guys, you know, scold your own selves. You know, as a family, get yourself in shape. You know, so I really hope that this bond thing gets going and puts on the agenda and gets voted on really quick. Because or else people are just going to think of you guys as you're not doing anything but just coming to a meeting. So I look forward to you guys having that on the agenda next week.
Thank you. Thank you much. Okay, again, 10.2, staff recommends the board receive the report as presented. So it's not an item that we need to vote on, right?
You've met as a board. You've met as your board your due diligence of informing the community of any changes since you adopted your budget in June.
Okay. So we don't need a motion and a second on this.
I think you vote acceptance.
Acceptance of the report? Okay.
I move that we vote.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I move that we vote on this.
I'll second it.
Please vote. Okay, motion passes, student member can vote. .3 classified layoffs, Superintendent? Mr. Vera?
Does the board have any questions regarding this? This is a reduction that was authorized by SSC, and this is to reduce or to reduce the library clerk at Graham Elementary.
Okay, so staff recommends the Board of Education approve resolution number 2143 to reduce a classified position, meaning one, right? Okay.
I move that.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I second.
Member John seconds. Hold on. Okay, let's do it again. Please vote. Okay, motion passes, 3 ayes and student member.
Again, it's a personnel issue.
Right, personnel issue, right. So it's abstaining, basically. Okay. Okay. 10.4, who's going to speak on this?
Yes, good evening.
Associate Superintendent Salinas?
Yes, good evening. This evening, I come forward with a purchase requisition to add additional FOSS kits. FOSS is our program for our kindergarten through 5th grade. The focus is on earth science, so we have more materials for the classroom. These materials are aligned to the next generation science standards, NGSS, and also this is outlined in our LCAP goal 1.3.2 with targeted funds for this work.
Okay. Member Gutierrez?
That being said, can you specify where the funds are coming from?
Yeah.
Yes,
Refresh.
we have these outlined in our LCAP, so these, I believe, were LCFF.
Thank you.
Right, and we're talking about $62,918.88. And it comes out of the LCAP, right? Okay. Okay, any more questions? Comments? Okay. Please vote.
There is no motion or second.
Sorry. I move that we vote on this?
I second it.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member John seconds. Okay, motion passes 5 ayes. Okay. 10.5, master contract between Anova Center for Education and Newark Unified School District. And then we have the service agreements. So we basically have 4 special ed items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ms. Willis, you're here?
Yes, and as she's coming up, these are our annual procedures for students that are in non-public school settings. And so we have Director Willis to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, so the first one is 10.5 master contract, and anyone have any questions of it? You mind staying up here for the whole thing? Okay.
Same question that I had for Ms. Salinas is, can you specify where the funds are coming from for this item?
Not from.
Anova,
It is from special education funding.
not the general fund?
I actually can't answer that. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to answer that.
general fund.
It is
Yeah.
general fund?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 5,000 category is the professional services consulting category, right? Yeah.
Correct. And if you remember, last year, we were coming in at the beginning of the year, well, actually, those of you that were here last year, and this is, because this is a school setting that we can't provide for students, we have these individualized contracts. There is a contribution, as you saw, we just saw in Mr. Schimmel's report of the general fund. These are mandated programs we must provide.
Another question I have for these annual contract is, if we have it in the middle of the year and find, say, hire someone as a full-time, is there a way to, do we still need to pay this whole year contract?
So these are students who are placed in non-public schools away from district because they need highly specialized services. Actually, 2 of these students are anticipated to return, and we have smaller amounts of money that we're asking for to fund those students, and probably a little more than we need to give us the wiggle room in case it takes a little longer than we think.
So would that
So
apply?
yes, they can come, when they come back, we don't pay for it anymore.
Would that apply to all the items that are on here? Basically, your answer?
If at any point any student is able to be served in district and be successful, we bring them back. We're constantly keeping an eye on that.
Right, thank you. So we're always trying to save as much money as we can, which is very difficult with special education.
Yes, which is why 2 of them are coming back in the
Right.
next 4 months.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I need a motion and a second on 10.5.
I just wanted to clarify if we were going to be bundling any of these or if we're voting individually on each.
We have to vote individually.
Okay.
Okay. So 10.5, need a motion and a second?
I move that we vote.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member John seconds.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay? Okay. Please vote. Okay, motion passes. 10.6,
Since we're going on to the next, I know these are mandated by the state, just for point of inquiry, if they don't get passed because of the votes, what are the consequences or what happens?
We would be out of compliance with the student's IEP.
All right, thank you.
that's why it's important that all board members be here.
Yes.
But sometimes it's, but you have 3, so at least we have a quorum. Okay, 10.6. Need a motion and a second, unless you have any more
Yeah.
questions of Director Willis?
Yeah, I guess for my own education, there's when we approve contract of special education, some of them is to fill permanent position that we don't fill. So we hire an outside consultant, we pay them hourly, which is more expensive than a full-time employee. But this is actually, what you said, we are students put into non-public school and,
Right. These are individual service agreements. You want to explain that, if you don't mind?
So I think there's two different things we're talking about. The ones that we've just been voting on are actually for separate schools. And then we do have one contract that's coming before you for a teacher, a special education teacher for a vacancy we weren't able to fill.
Right, but 10.6 is an individual service agreement.
Okay.
That's an outside consultant.
Sorry, 10.6?
So 10.6, it says individual service contract, and
What's
just to
the
get
agency?
it's individual.
Oh, ANOVA is a non-public school.
Okay. Okay. Staff recommends the board ratify the agreement. Okay.
I move that we vote on this.
Member Gutierrez
I
moves.
second.
Member John seconds. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. 10.7, another individual service agreement.
I move that we vote on this.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I second.
Member John seconds. Please vote. Motion passes 4 ayes. 10.8 is another master contract between Pacific Autism Center for Education and Newark Unified School District.
Is this another non-public school location that we send our special needs kids to?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
I move that we vote on this.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I second it.
Member John seconds. I just have a quick question. So the individual agreement, is it especially for just autism kids, or I'm just trying to understand?
So an individual service agreement spells out the exact services that we are contracting for. So the school placement, any speech and language services a student might get, any individualized support, et cetera.
But on the school placement, would it be a school that's just for autism, or would it be a school that has other children in it?
So almost all of them serve multiple eligibilities.
okay.
Pacific Autism Center specializes, but they
Right.
do actually also
Okay.
serve other students.
So there are some that specialize in autism,
Yes.
right? Okay, great. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes. 10.9, did I miss any, or am I okay? Okay. Individual service agreement with PACE. Staff is recommending that we ratify the agreement to provide.
I move we approve.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Member John and Member Gutierrez seconds. To provide academic excellence via equity and opportunities for all students. Okay, let me clear this. Sorry. Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes. Okay, let's clear it. 10.10, is that where we're at?
Yes.
10.11.
10.11, thank you. Master contract between Cherish Youth Center and Newark Unified School District. Okay, let me clear it.
I think, yeah, maybe this is 10.10, I guess. Did we vote on 10.10?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
yeah.
on 10.10.
Yeah.
10.10. Oh, okay, there was two PACE, right?
Yes, there are two.
Okay, okay, so 10.10.
I move that we
Staff
vote on
recommends
this.
ratify the agreement. Member Gutierrez moves.
I second.
Member John seconds. Please vote. Whoops, sorry, you're gonna have to do it again. With 2 board members absent, I gotta clear the board every time.
Oh, actually,
Even
before.
if you leave it on,
Yeah,
you're
it
not
won't.
voting, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
So you can just leave it on.
You want me to leave it on?
It just makes it easier and quicker.
Did we vote on 10.10?
No, your vote didn't show.
Yeah,
So
hold
we're
on.
gonna do it again.
Okay.
Oh, before
Okay, let's vote.
I gotta ask one thing.
Go ahead.
This 018, the 10.9, 10.10, looks like one is 018, the other 01B. They're the same code, same purpose, and same amount of money. And is this A is the first half of the year, the B is the second half of the year, or?
So are we looking at?
Pace.
Pace.
Oh, PACE. There are two different students.
Two different
that are-
students.
Yeah. that are
Okay,
placed
And
in
it's for the
PACE.
whole year, right?
Yes, for the whole
Okay,
year.
I see.
Good. So we're at 10.10.
So we got a motion first and second. We got to vote.
Let's vote. Thank you. I thought they would show up. Okay, good. 10.11.
I move that we vote on this.
I second.
Okay, Member Gutierrez, Member John seconds. And that's a master contract between Cherish Youth Center and Newark Unified School District. Okay, 4 ayes. Okay. Ten point 12, individual service agreement, again with Cherish Youth Center.
So, I need to get educated on this difference between master contract and individual service agreement.
So the master contract is our SELPA contract that spells out how we will do business together in a more general way. It's very much so vetted by special education attorneys. It's what every district in the SELPA uses. The individual service agreement is specifically what the student needs that we're contracting for. What are the services? So, like I said,
So is it a coincidence that the master contract has the same money amount with the individual service agreement, or is always the case?
not always the case, because if it's one student, it'd be the same amount, but if it's multiple students, it'll be different amounts at the same school.
Okay, I guess for the Cherish Youth Center, there's only one student?
Yes.
So in this case, 10.11 and 10.12, are we double paying or we're only paying that amount?
Just that amount. One student, one amount for that student.
Clarification. So master contract 10.11, it says dollar amount 156,099, and then we go to the individual service agreement, and it's for the exact same amount. So
That's
are we paying $100,000 for master contract and then another 100? No.
no, just the one amount.
Okay, I see.
I think if I can add, it might be better if the master contract value is set to 0 and then the ISA has the value for the student. I don't know, it just seems like a point of confusion for the public that the $2 amounts are listed separately.
And typically, this is how we're legally to provide it. It is confusing, and I'm thinking, as we get through the items, we could perhaps do another annual study session on how NPS works. Maybe looking at October, and I'll speak with the board president to see if we can add it. But yes, so essentially, there's the master contract, the set amount, and then any of the individual service agreements will total that amount, but you only pay it once.
So I believe we are on 10.2.
10.12, I move to approve 10.12.
So I'll second it.
Please vote. Sorry.
Vote again.
Yeah. Hold on. Clear it. Close.
You guys can vote by hand.
Okay. It's not happening right now. I don't know why.
Let's vote by hand for this one.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. 10.13. Okay, so from 10.13 to 10.20?
I think
15. No, I think
10.13, I think.
13, 14, and 15 are both the I mean, 13 is the master contract, 14 and 15 add together equals to that 13.
Okay,
So that
go
just
back and forth,
explained
okay.
the master
Just-
contract is the umbrella,
Okay.
and the 14, 15 is the breakdown.
Okay, so 10.13.
Good way to say it.
He's got it. Thank you, Mr. Member
And,
Jones.
and I- just for clarification, point of order, clarification for my, I believe in previous meetings, we have voted on these items in lumps? Is that not correct?
Yes?
Yes.
So we can select, like, let's say, 1 through 10, and if we have any, we can exclude,
You can bundle.
we can
Well,
bundle.
I thought that was only available for consent calendar, not the one.
Yeah, normally it's for consent, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for clarification.
okay. 10.13, need a motion and a second.
I move that we vote on this item.
I second it.
Member Gutierrez, Member Jones, seconds. Okay, let's see if it works. All right. Okay, open for voting, and yes. 10.14, Service Agreement, Seneca Family of Agencies.
I move that we vote on this item.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member
I second.
seconds, please vote. Okay, perfect.
Ten, 15.
10:15, again, Seneca Family of Agencies.
I move that we vote on this item.
I second.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Hold on, let me clear it. There you go. Okay, where are we?
1016.
Mhm.
1016, master contract between Spectrum Center and Newark Unified School District.
I move that we vote on this item.
I second it.
Okay, Member Gutierrez, Member John seconds. Okay, thank you. Ten point
17.
17, individual service agreement, Spectrum Center.
I move that we vote on this item.
Second.
Okay, second, please vote. Okay, excellent. Okay, 10.18, master contract between the Bay School and Newark Unified School District.
I move that we vote on this item.
Member
Second.
Gutierrez moves, Member John seconds. Discussion, vote. You have to do it again, sorry. Okay. Okay. Member Gutierrez?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Ten point 19.
10.19,
I move to approve.
right. Member John moves, Member Gutierrez seconds.
I'll second.
Please vote. Okay. 10.20, I'd like to move on this one. 10.20, independent contract agreement with ATX Learning and Newark Unified School District. Need a second? Open for voting.
I'll second it.
Okay. Let's do it again. Okay, please vote. Excellent, thank you. Okay, where are we?
10.21.
21,
Do we have
Whoops.
a presentation on
Okay.
this one?
Yes, thank you, Director Willis. 10.21, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Superintendent?
Yes, we have the committee members here to present.
Okay, excellent.
Welcome up.
Welcome.
Hi. She's bringing up a PowerPoint. But in general, this was my second year on the bond. I'm the outgoing chairman of the committee. I would encourage the board and administration to find some people to fill the holes that are quickly growing in there. I think that one of the issues that was really driving participation in this is the fact that the committee operates in a vacuum of interaction between the board and the administration, with the exception of the quarterly meetings. And so, if you guys could help bridge that gap and continue to try and get people to realize that this is an important role. It needs to be fulfilled, and the inputs that come from the committee are important as well to be heard and addressed.
If I may, just to that point, Mr. Yarborough, I have identified 3 new people that are interested. I'm working on that. I don't have a final form yet, but I agree with you. I think we need to expand membership and get some new people involved as well. So thank you. I am aware of that.
I know there is another person that was on the list that was previously engaged. I would encourage, bringing her back on. She has a wealth of knowledge as well. There is just no doubt that she contributes greatly to the knowledge factor of the group. You're going to get me out of your way?
There was a mouse here somewhere.
Yeah. I only had a mouse in my pocket.
We got it. Okay. You can, yeah, just.
So the 2017-2018 annual report, I know we're in 19 and it's confusing to the members as well, trying to keep track of what we're reporting on, but the data comes out late, so this brings us along. We decided to introduce facts and findings and concerns early on rather than at the end of it between boring everybody into it. We realized that the majority of the money that was spent in this bond is outlaid in capital improvements, huge amounts of capital improvements that in many cases could have been solved by having a good deferred maintenance plan with the people to support such a thing and actually get the maintenance done. Rather than waiting for something to deteriorate to a point where it has to be, replaced in mass, rather than waiting for something to fall apart, let's fix it, get a coat of paint on it before it gets to that point. Comparing buildings here to buildings that are in other districts, and because of the lack of deferred maintenance and the lack of maintenance crews to get out there and keep things up at a lower level, it's costing the taxpayers bigger money on the far end of it when it comes time to maintain all these systems. So the deferred maintenance plan, I know you guys have it in your master plan, is something to come out. I'm hoping that will helpfully be, financed as well as not just be lip service in a document that's going to be a $500,000 plan. The governing board was brought to their attention last year that money was spent on the Whiteford School. It operated as a school for a short period of time. Bond money has to be used for educational purposes based on the language of the bond. And even before the students were out of the building and the money was done and spent over there was administrative moves and discussions in this very room to say, well, why don't we just move the boards into there? Well, there is resources for you guys to be able to make that spiritually as well as effectively on the finances correct, so that it doesn't feel like somebody did a sleight of hand to the public's money. There's money in the Russian funds to be able to make the Whiteford money not come from the bond money, so that money can be spent elsewhere on other things that's within the scope of the language. And the bond committee would appreciate some feedback from the board on that. That addresses points 2 and 3. Future bonds. We know that the ongoing master plan discussions that were going on there as well, they were pretty straightforward about saying, yeah, this is going to be also geared towards going towards our next bond. So we're actually spending money, considering that 80% of the master plan is being funded by the building funds coming out of the bond. We find that actually it's also funding a portion of the next bond that's going to be, brought to the public. We didn't care for that all that much. The retroactive bond usage seemed appropriate, although mechanically it's really difficult for the bond to be able to follow when some of the expenditures are rewritten from one part of the budget that was not bond money, and all of a sudden they're able to, the business office looks at it and says, wait a minute, we could allocate this out of bond money. And so, 9 months later, it comes out of another section of the budget. And we spent a good bit of time talking back and forth with the previous CBO saying, what happened here? Why all of a sudden is this money coming out of here? And only to find out that it was a lot of retroactive moves. It creates an oversight risk. The actual product that we got from this bond, in general, it was a $63 million bond. $8 million of it went to Vanner in one shape or form of another. We did not get our delivered product that we asked for from there. We wanted them to handle this for us because administratively there's not enough people and and staff and time to be able to do it. And it come down to actually we're still damaged from their failure to deliver from their high-priced process, because right now when we have issues that are going on with follow-up roof repairs or, HVAC repairs or contractual issues, we find that the contracts were so poorly written and so poorly oversaw that they're unenforceable from our school's perspective now. So rather than being able to get our money for what we paid for, or bang for our buck out of what the taxpayers paid for, we have to forgo it for, okay, well, we'll put that on the next scope and wait for the next bond or find some other money to fix that problem, that because the energy that comes from the administration to actually take the contract out, take the project out and say, we paid this much money for this and it's failing. Why can't we get this enforced? Well, we lost that when Vanner walked away and didn't get the job done for us. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to just drop that back on and pay the lawyers to try and fix it. Unlikely they're going to look at the contracts too and say, well, if the language isn't there, what more can we do? We don't want to see this situation again. I think it's a really bad position to be in, especially if you're going to get ready to spend another $50 million of taxpayer money in the next bond. Play structures, really pretty surprising that Vanner stood in this room and said the project's all done, only to find out a few months ago that there was an entire phase 3 of the project, the money was sitting there that had not been completed, and suddenly, voila, let's get phase 3 done. I think it's great. We're getting play structures in place for the kids. Yet again, it pointed out that there's a gap in the administrative end between the sites and this room and the business office in between, where the needs of the people at those sites, even as simple as the play structures, is not properly addressed. One classic example of it, I believe, was Graham, where we had the principal was on site as we're walking around, and she said, this year, and maybe, I don't know, maybe before, but this year she's got a lot of disabled children. And she doesn't have the mechanism with all these brand new play equipment to get these wheelchair children into a play structure, because there's just none of that was ever brought into the picture. And I think across the board, we don't have that in any of our locations effectively. Maybe, one? Do we have any locations that have a wheelchair facilities?
They all have access, ADA access to get into the.
They have access through a cut in a curb across Bark. Do they have a wheelchair accessible play structure? Very few. Yeah, I don't think so. And also, try riding a wheelchair across Bark. I don't think it's a very comfortable experience for those kids. Anyway, that's just another disconnect, that perhaps getting the folks in charge of doing maintenance in the room with the people that have these needs, the principals, so they can get a connection periodically throughout the year, might help alleviate that problem. Measure G money expenditures. Last year, the superintendent contacted me and wanted our input on taking the bond information and the Vanner plan of attack and saying, yeah, let's make this a go so we can meet the requirement of having a certain amount of this money spent without the budget getting hit with a sanction or a surcharge. The last 2 times that we met with the previous CBO, we did not have a warm fuzzy that that money was spent at all. It was maybe 50% of it, we're not sure. The numbers kept moving around because there was approvals by this board, and then there were of a list of things, and certain things on the list kept changing, like they were approved or not approved. We had never had a clear picture as to what they were, and I think that was a disservice to both the committee, and it's probably a disservice to the committee, to the administration, because they need to get a clear picture to you guys of what they want approved so they can get the money spent. We don't want to lose money just handing it over in penalties and sanctions. That's a really bad way to go. Anyway, aside from that, though, I really appreciate the time I've been able to spend over the last 2 years working with you guys. I'm still going to be a property owner in the area, so what you do matters to me. I want to thank the staff, the folks that were helping out, and the board members that worked with us along the way. Thank you.
Oh, stay up there. Next on the agenda is to accept your resignation from the CBOC. I just, when we address that, I can, if you stay up there, if you don't mind. So we got 10.21. Need a motion and a second to accept the CBOC 2017-2018 annual report.
I just have one small question. So,
Okay.
in one of the category about the other expenditure, I see we got charged by our banks for $40,000. So, what category fall that into? Why would what is this expense related to the bank charges?
Oh, well, that's the man to answer the question.
Which one?
This is the business officer.
Okay.
Yes.
I have not looked at this, but having passed bonds and used construction management firms before, I believe that when you sold series of your bonds, when you pass a $60 million bond, you don't sell it all at once. That's very prudent because you can't spend $60 million at once, and the community pays interest on the bond. So if you only need 10 million or 20 million, you borrow 20 million, and you leave the other 40 alone so the community doesn't pay interest on it. Now that 20 million has a processing fee. I think you can compare it to your home. You buy a home for X dollars, and then you go to escrow, and they say it's X dollars plus 50,000. And you wonder, what's that other 50,000 for? Title, escrow, loan fee, this fee, tax analysis. Selling bonds is very similar.
Yes, I mean.
So if you sell a bond for 60 million, the district, usually sometimes around, by the time you end up selling it, would be 58 and a half, maybe 60 if you're doing very well. 59 rather. So it's not, the gross amount is 60 million. The net amount the district gets is probably 2% less, between 1% and 2% less total.
And if you look at the interest made on that money as you're holding it, it's what, 6-7 years now this bond's been in there, $500,000 in interest because of the rates that the county investments are so phenomenally low. They're less than 1% of the money that's sitting in the bank. So the better off using the money properly, getting it spent on the projects that we needed to get done, and rather than having it float around and eventually, if you don't spend it, there is some follow-ups between both the tax agencies and from the state in terms of you have a duty to spend the money over a certain period of time. And last July 1st, I believe, was our deadline for having it all spent to the 85% level, I believe it was.
Mr. Yarborough brings up a very significant point. 25 years ago, when there was something called arbitrage and interest rates were much higher, savings rates, you could get a savings rate of 6 or 8%. And because you're a school district, sell a bond at 2 or 3%. But today's market rate is somewhere between 3 and 4%, and his point about 1 to 2% from the county treasury, because you're limited, has to be in a very safe investment. It's not a stock investment. So you actually do lose money by borrowing more than you need, because you pay more than you get while it's waiting.
I see.
And that's changed dramatically in the last years.
I don't know who has the hot mic. Thank you. I didn't go over all the slides with all the numbers. Usually folks are not all that thrilled with it, but I highly recommend that you do put an eye to it. You'll see that money dropped off in expenditures over the last 2 years. And there's still money to be spent funding projects that Ms. Condon has got a huge checklist of things that need to be done. And she needs resources and manpower to get it done.
So after like we issue a bond, we sell a bond, and the money we get back, is there any legal limit or legal restriction about where you can put the money in addition to county treasury or?
Yes, there is. You cannot pick as a board an investment in, for example, an investment in solar. We talked about it earlier tonight. You couldn't invest in that company with your bond money. You're using the public's money, and it has to be almost guaranteed by the federal government or FDIC type of investment.
There's only 2 places they can put it, and both of them are under 1% return.
Okay. We need a motion and a second.
I move to accept the annual report from the CBOC.
I'll second it.
Member Gutierrez seconds. Please vote. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yarbrough. Don't go away. Yarbrough. 10.22. Now, this is one that we can table for a whole year, right? So you stay on? Can we table this for a whole year?
Table it, I could get fired.
But I just wanted to express my thanks. I remember when you came on and what you've done to, your service to our kids is really appreciated. And your presentations are very well done. And I'm glad you're not leaving us, just leaving the CVOC. Okay.
Well, I've left the LCAP, the CBOC, the Site Council, and the parent group. So there's a few openings. If somebody wants to fill any of those, I highly recommend.
Right.
They're very enriching. And
hey, you can write a book on each one of those, a different chapter.
Oh, I could write a good book. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 10.22. Thank anybody else? Okay. Okay. And this is to accept the resignation of Mr. Merrick Yarbrough, CBOC member.
I move to accept the resignation.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Member John, Member Gutierrez seconds. Oops, hold on. Give me a second. Okay. Please vote. Okay. It passes.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
I'm
Thank
free.
you.
Thank
you
you.
so much for your service.
Thank you for your service.
It's okay. .23, alarm rewiring at McGregor Protection 1. Ms. Condon or Superintendent?
Hello. This, well, I'm not. What I'm bringing to you tonight is a request to approve an upgrade to the McGregor alarm wiring. The past several years, we've had consistent issues with the alarm calls being at McGregor. We've had rewiring issues consistently, and I've had them come out, Protection One come out and assess the problem. We have them coming out all the time. We have police alarm calls and everything coming on. The main reason we have these issues is the age of the current wires. So the only way to get it to be fixed and up to speed is to actually rewire the whole system. The alarm system is faulty, the wiring is outdated. We get consistent alarm calls, like I said, from police, so we're paying a lot of alarm bills. And that's what we're trying to prevent and get the school up to par.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve. Need a second, and then we can ask more questions if you want.
I move to approved.
I'll second.
Okay. Member John moves, Member Gutierrez seconds. Any more discussion? Okay, please.
I do have one,
ahead.
just a concern. These are items, we're doing upkeep in buildings that require it, by all means. But I think there's also a lot of talk from us board members of different options that we can do with these buildings. So I just think it's, for us as a board, I think it's important to consider what we really want to do with a lot of these buildings, so that if we're going to move forward with any decisions, we don't do small upkeep here and there, and actually move forward with the decision and then they do a full-blown upkeep or not needed. So just something to keep in mind for the future, but definitely needed. Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ten point 24, HVAC preventive maintenance.
I do have a question for this.
Skanda, you want to address, be up here for this one also? Member Jean? You have a question?
Yes, so I guess my question is, why is the funding source from the general fund rather than from the building fund or the Measure G bond?
It's a service. If we could take it out of the bond, that'd be awesome. That would give me more money to spend for the rest of the facilities. I believe it's I would have to read the actual wording for the bond in order to see if it would come out of that. But it is to do a maintenance program that we normally have done by an employee that is in place at our school district. That employee has been out of place since December, so the work is not getting done. That's why we don't have air conditioning and HVAC and all of that. I never looked into going into the bond because I figured I needed the work done, and I pulled it from the general. I don't know if Mr. Sherman.
I haven't looked at your bond language, but most school districts, it's unlikely routine maintenance.
Right.
This isn't for new equipment. It's to keep the equipment going that you have. And actually, what Ms. Condon's doing, there's so much technology now in air conditioning and controls that it is better not to do it inside your district, because you don't have A, either the equipment, or B, the technical knowledge. And so having an outside company, most progressive school districts are doing that. And they have a contract on an annual basis. The key that was brought up earlier is that if a air conditioning condenser unit is supposed to last 15 years, it's like your home. You have to change the filters. You have to replace a motor every now and then. This is what this is about. And I don't believe your bond language would have said it's for routine maintenance.
I see.
Bond language is usually for capital improvement.
One time, right?
Bricks and mortar.
Okay. I see.
So we just because deferred maintenance, that's what you call it?
I just have a question. I understand what you said, Mr. Schimmel. Just wondering if it's worth tabling even for our next meeting to see if there are any other funds where it can come out of? Or do you think it's just best that we move forward with our vote today?
I'd recommend you move forward.
Okay.
When we go through the accounting process, I'll work with Ms. Condon and see if there is a bucket of money other than the general fund. Like if you have a separate, I don't know if you do, a separate deferred maintenance account, but it's really routine ongoing maintenance.
Thank you.
And does this happen every year or like because every year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're running very large buildings and the filters need to be changed, otherwise you burn out the motor. And then if you burn out the motor, it causes some other issue. And these are expensive units. They're in the $1 million range.
One more question. In a situation like this, is it possible to do an upgrade or, complete new unit so we can come out of the Measure G? Or?
Yes. In fact, this company should recommend to us, you have a unit, it's 15, 18 years old, its lifespan is spent. You're spending more on energy. Air conditioning units, for example, have gotten very energy efficient. So it might be worth it to spend X dollars to avoid replacing it with old parts, a design.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, so these are on every single unit we have in the school district. I believe 25% of the HVAC units have been replaced with the bond. We still have the balance of the units here. If this company who does the maintenance, annual maintenance, which like we said, when we get an employee to do the job, they will be doing it on their basis, right? So it wouldn't be an annual unless I get stuck not having a hired person for next year. But the thing is, if they come back and say the unit is not, they're not going to fix it. They're going to check the motors, check the belts, change the filters, do those things to maintain it so that when these kids come back on the 15th, we have AC and we have heat. And that's my main concern. I keep funding rooms with fans and heaters, and they cannot, it's not a healthy way to bring our kids in here, or our staff. So replacing the units are great. I believe we probably have money still left to replace the units that are that bad. We do have, I think, some buildings at the high school that need to be done. Almost all our portables need to be changed. I think that's a different issue. I think that's something we can concentrate on if we get the bond or moving forward on getting that kind of money. But this is basically a maintenance agreement to get our stuff running and turning on and working properly.
Thank you.
Okay?
So I move to approve 10.24.
I second. Please vote.
Thank you.
I didn't pick you up. Let's do it by hand. Okay, all four. Thank you. Okay, 10.25, surplus equipment. This is something that comes on multiple times.
I move that we vote.
Okay, Member Gutierrez moves.
I second.
Member John seconds. Please vote. Okay, motion passes, 4 ayes. Thank you. Donations report. We have a total amount of $3,519.
I move that we vote.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member Rodriguez.
I second.
I was going to second, but it's okay. Member John seconds. Okay. Please vote. Do it again, please. Okay. Excellent. Okay, donation, in-kind donation of music stands, a trumpet teacher resources, 18 instrument books, a snare drum set, a music notation whiteboard, and a dry erase board. Duration date, school year 2018-19, donor Newark Educational Foundation. Specific purpose for the adult school music program, district-wide. Donation, $3,519 for Newark Unified School District, school year 2018-19. Okay. We thank you, the Newark Schools Foundation. They constantly are helping us raise money, especially in the arts or the music. Superintendent, could you express our thanks to them, please?
Absolutely, and they continue to work with us, and we are actually going to be meeting soon to expand our partnership and even strengthen our partnership with the foundation.
Okay, excellent. 10.27, Mrs. Ottestetter, did you want to address us on this, please? Hello? Sorry you had to wait so long.
Oh, it's okay. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I am Debbie Otterstetter. I'm a Stage 1 board member, and we have two other board members here with us tonight. We want to thank very much the Superintendent Sanchez, staff, and the school board members. We've had a 20-year partnership with the school district. Stage 1 uses the theater at Newark Memorial High School to promote the arts locally. We are a nonprofit, all-community-based theater group. I want to first of all thank a couple people, especially who work at the school district that we work with on a regular basis. And that's Sarah Wilson, who helps us out quite a bit, and Susan Condon and her custodians at the high school. They do a great job for us, and we want to thank them very much. We have had a really good partnership. A couple of things we've done recently with the high school that I just want to bring up and mention is we had 4 students participate from the high school in our last production there of Mamma Mia. 3 were acting and 1 was actually on the crew. So it's always great when we can get the students involved, and they are always invited to attend and to participate. We also helped with the justification for some of the new mics that the school got towards the end of the school year. They actually called us for expertise, advice on what mics to purchase for the theater. So we helped them out with that. And then we also provided a lot of costumes for the local high school production of Charlie Brown. So I just wanted to show you some of the ways that we're partnering with the high school. We're really here tonight looking for approval on our 20th year contract. But we're also hoping that maybe we can get some kind of price concession, because the prices, as you can see, if you look at the contract, have gone up quite a bit for us. And because we're a nonprofit community group, it's going to hit us very hard. So the contract is going up to close to $44,000 for the year. This is the time that we use in the theater, building our sets, rehearsing, performing. Last year, we were just over $18,000. We are adding 1 additional show next year, but that means the average price last year was around $6,000. The average price this year will be about $10,000. So it's a huge jump for us. We did what we could, looking at the contract and putting together the dates and the times that we'd be using the facilities. We actually reduced the weeks of rehearsal that we have, so people have to work a lot harder. We went to less time in the theater and more time in the dance room. And by the way, I've been working with Susan on the dance room. Our next show is going to be 42nd Street, which is a tap-heavy show. The dance room does not allow tapping. How can you have a dance room they can't tap in? So Stage 1 is actually investing in a partial floor that we can put in there on top of the regular floor so that we can tap. And that will be available for the high school to use if they want to in the future. But because this is going up so much, I know at the last board meeting when you first talked about the facility increases, one of the board members brought up the fact of maybe for some of the more loyal groups that have been with the school district for a long time, putting in place more of a gradual increment. And we didn't see that with the contract that we got. So for instance, the theater went from about $25 an hour to almost $52 an hour. A huge jump for us. So what we're asking is, first of all, we'd like to have approval for our contract, but we'd also like to see if you guys could possibly consider graduating in the increases for us, even over a 2-year period, would be an extreme help. Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
a question.
Go ahead, Madam Gutierrez.
I think, thank you. I think it's going to be more for the superintendent where if we wanted to, if we approve this contract, it's as is. And so if we wanted to amend it and consider a gradual increase, what does that look like?
We can always bring it back and amend it, and I'm happy to meet with them to see if we can find a compromise, if that's the direction the board wants me to take.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think part of the, and I don't want to speak for you, certainly I'm glad you're there. Part of it is approving it lets them start working and lets them start using the space. is
Yeah,
what
we're
I
actually in the
understand.
space this summer. We have a youth production that
I mean, it
opens
never
up in a couple
stops. You
weeks.
guys,
Yes.
it's always going. So I think that's kind of the, there is, I think we both agree we want to get it approved, but I think, are we willing to work? If that's the direction I get from the board, I will meet with them to try to find a compromise or a graduated way to approach, but it's up to the board.
And I guess,
Excuse me, Debbie, you can stand if you want, or you can sit while we talk. Thank you. Go ahead.
well, I guess what's asking for tonight is the urgency to approve a contract so they can continue using the facility, right?
Right.
However, if we approve, if we approve as is, means these fees stay.
Yes.
So we either approve as is, or we approve with an amendment to discuss the fees.
So what will happen
So
if we ask to bring it back?
Yeah, it shows here that
If I may
we could
actually-
actually wait till the 15th, right?
Currently, they're under the existing contract. So if you want to just table it and I'll bring it back at the next meeting and give me a chance.
Is that okay?
Because they're currently under existing contract with us.
When does the contract end?
Until we renew and
Actually, it had expired, and so
Already?
the agreement was we would just stay within the existing contract
Until we
as is,
Till
and
we
then
sign
what
the new one.
happened, our fees increased July 1st, so that affected, so we
Right.
kept bringing this, so we're still under contract, but the contract they've been under for the last few years is still what's in place.
Okay, so, to me, 2 weeks is not a problem?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question, and sorry to bring you back up.
Well,
Do you have,
actually, she's not staff, but, is that okay?
or,
Okay, that's
well,
fine.
I mean, if we're going to give
No, if
Ms.
the
Parks
board's
the
up-
same thing,
okay.
I believe we need to
Okay,
give her the
I'm
same.
fine,
So
I'm fine.
again, just point of order on that aspect, I think we need to have equality and some kind of stability to what we're going to do with our
Well, no,
audience and our
It's
speakers.
not about somebody commenting on an agenda item. You're actually the chief, what, are you the,
I'm the co-executive producer.
right, okay, so that's fine, we're okay.
Okay, thank you. Just before we move whether to do with an amendment or as is, what would be your suggested pay schedule?
I think even if we could cut it in half for this first year, to at least get us time to get our feet under it and do some fundraising on our own, that would be extremely helpful.
Okay, because
That's a heavy increase, it was,
It is.
I just want to make sure that, well, my comment is related more towards, we set a fee schedule for a reason, you know, and I don't want to stray away from it too much, so that's why my question was, what kind of fee schedule would you be interested in? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think as a board, we did agree to the schedule, so we should stick to it. I do understand that there is the possibility of some leeway, and I do understand you guys' situation, like you said, get your feet moving and get some fundraising. So
okay, but we'd still have, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I would possibly be okay with a set time frame. If you say, give us X amount of time, reasonable X amount of time, like you said, to fundraise. But ultimately, I think the goal has to be to meet the fees.
Right, which is why I was asking for the first year, if we could take the increase and just whatever it was above the last contract, cut that increase in half for this first year, and then jump to the full schedule the following year.
If I may
Go ahead.
offer a solution, because I don't want to I don't want to negotiate in public. I would suggest, let me pull the item, I'll meet with these folks, and we'll come back at the next meeting. That just keeps it cleaner, and then we can meet soon and discuss, and then we don't do it here in the public forum.
Okay.
And Debbie, you and I go back, 25 years, but the thing is that the board did approve a fee schedule, and we have other organizations, whether the Little League, Nook Softball and everything. So,
The one thing I would like to say, though, if you remember the last time I spoke, is that theater is in fairly poor condition. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to it to truly bring it up to the point where I think you can get $50 an hour out on the general market.
so
I don't
that's
think the
one thing.
theater is there right now, personally.
Okay. And maybe at some point we can bring that.
I had a question in regard to
Go ahead.
the platform, the TAP platform that you, sorry, is it separate, or is it has to be added onto or remodeled?
It sits on top of.
Okay.
It's like a puzzle piece that you
Yes.
put together to cover, yeah.
Okay.
And Stage One's covering the cost for that.
Okay.
So if you can meet with the superintendent and see if we can come up with something, I'd love to see a loyalty discount or something. Not that we don't do it now, but, longevity, something like that. But we already approved the fee schedule, and that's something we could have, we could bring it back and discuss other ways that we can, for people that have been with us a long time
Yeah, and I think Stage One is slightly different over the fee schedule too, because we do have an annual contract that we work with. So maybe there's an annual contract discount that wouldn't change the fee schedule. Maybe we can work on something like that.
Okay.
And I hear Member Rodriguez's suggestion, and my suggestion, Superintendent, would be that we try to stick to the fee schedule as possible, but if they need a couple extra time to do some fundraising, but ultimately try to follow the fee schedule that the board agreed upon.
Okay. And the problem you have with that is your contract's up, right?
Yeah, but it sounds like the district
It's
is willing
almost as
to
a month-to-month
continue our
basis, so their
existing.
contract expired, but
Right.
they're still going to be using the previous contract.
Right, but technically, if the fee schedule was approved on July the 1st, then,
If I may,
Yeah.
I'd like to pull this item at this time.
okay, go ahead, pull it. Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Devin. Excellent move, Superintendent. Okay, 10.28, monthly business transaction report. Staff recommends the board approve the fiscal reports as presented. Okay, need a motion and a second?
I move to approve.
Member John moves, I second. Please vote. All right, good. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, consent agenda, and that's what you were talking about earlier, Member John. First is 11.1, which is the personnel report. Okay. So I need a motion and a second on 11.1, please.
I move to approve the personnel report.
Okay, Member John moves.
I'll second it,
Member
and
Gutierrez seconds.
just a point of order that
Right.
student does not vote.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Okay, motion passes 3 ayes unanimously. Okay, 11.2. Did you
President
want to
Rodriguez?
address us on this? Mhm.
Yes, President Rodriguez and board members, staff recommends to approve Olivia Rangel as the interim principal of Newark Memorial High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I move that we vote.
Member Gutierrez moves, makes a
second.
motion on 11.2.
I second it.
Member John seconds. Okay, again, this is personnel. Motion passes, 3 ayes. Superintendent, would you do the honors?
Olivia, would you mind stepping forward to the podium? I know you've been waiting a long time tonight.
Ms. Rangel, welcome to Newark Memorial High School.
Thank you. Welcome back. Right?
Welcome back, that's true. You went there.
I prepared a little something, if you don't mind. So
You got a
good
speech?
Oh, yes, speech.
Okay.
Good
Member
evening.
Gutierrez said you have to keep it to 5 minutes. I'm only kidding.
I thought it was 3. Good evening, Newark Board of Education, Superintendent Sanchez, and Cabinet. In 2011, I began looking for a district to work for, and as a special education teacher, you can only imagine that neighboring districts were out to get me. But I actually chose to interview with Newark because the special ed director at the time was a woman I highly admired. When I interviewed with her, I asked her, oh, I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. I asked her if this was a place I could grow as a leader. And her response was, this is a tight-knit community where you will learn, lead, and grow professionally. And that is why I chose Newark Unified, and that's why I'm here today. And I have not wavered on that decision. I spent 6 years working with the students, staff, and families of Newark Memorial High School, so the Cougar pride runs deep. While I did take a short hiatus from Newark Memorial High School, I happily continue to support the families here at the DO. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to return to a place that I considered home for 6 years, and I promise to be the leader that the staff, students, and families of Newark Memorial deserve. Thank you.
Don't go away. I'd like to share something. The fact that you're interim, I don't want you to feel that means lack of faith on our part. We have complete faith in you. The high school is like a little city, and we don't just, we have a complete faith that you, as the new mayor of Newark Memorial High School, will do an excellent job. I saw you at the Special Olympics, and I've seen you at the different ones and how you interact with kids and staff, and I mean, you're great. And this is going to be challenging, and Superintendent and I have talked about making sure that you have all the help you need in order to be successful. We don't want to just leave you out there on an island, okay? So there's stuff in place already, and we've already talked with HR on giving you all the tools you need so that you do a great job there, which I have no doubt that you will. And your special ed experience, will serve you well, in my opinion, no matter where you go, but especially at the high school. Okay?
I just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to working with you. And just like you said, Newark is a tight-knit community, and so are we here at the district, and there won't be any way that we would let you out there on the line then. So you'll definitely be, we'll be all working together.
Thank you very much for your support.
Student board member, Cesar?
Congratulations on your appointment. That's all I can say. I hope that as we move into this new school year, that you, yourself and myself and the students we can all work together to have a good school year. The interim doesn't mean anything. You're our principal, and I hope that we can have a good school year together, that we can be productive, move forward from the challenges that we've had, and forge new relationships.
Absolutely. The students are the reason why we're all here, so I look forward to working with you.
You can name your mentor if you want. You didn't have to hide her name.
Anjanette Pelletier.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She was great. She is great. Thank you.
I think we probably need a minute before
Okay, let's take a minute, couple minutes. Bowen took a break. Okay, so we're going to move to consent agenda, and we have how many? Consent.
1 through 11, 12.1 through 11.
Okay, so whether Member Gutierrez or do you have any items or Cesar or any community member that would like to pull?
None for me.
Okay, none for me either.
I would like to make a comment on, let me see here.
Will you pull it then?
Pull it.
Just say the
12.4.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll pull 12.4. Member John, did you have anything you wanted to pull? No. Okay, so I need a vote for 12.1 through 12.3, 12.5 through 12.11.
I move to approve 12.1 through 12.11, except 12.4.
Oh, okay, other way to say it, great.
I'll second it.
Please vote. Oops. Start again. Okay. Okay, excellent. Student board member?
Yes, the reason I pulled, or I asked to pull 12.4, after reviewing the text of the minutes for the 19th of June meeting, I noticed that the votes recorded mention my name as student member, and that's it. My last name's given no reference, and I know in previous board meetings, yourself, President Rodriguez, you mentioned, for example, replacing student with Castillo up there, making sure my name is included in things.
Right.
In this document, I see the exact opposite. My name's mentioned once. This was the case, or the surname was mentioned with the last board rep. It's not with me, so I don't know what happened, but if we could get that corrected, I'd appreciate it.
What do you think, Superintendent? We should be able to.
I'm going to address this as part of my final report.
Okay.
So I have some next steps for us.
Okay. Okay. So, so we need a motion.
I move that we vote on 12.4.
Okay, I
I
second.
second. Okay.
Who seconds?
I did. Okay, motion passes. Let's carry it. Okay, 13.1, expulsion review E1819-02.
I move that we vote on this.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I second.
Second. Okay, hold on. Okay. Member John, can you vote again? Thank you. Okay, excellent. 13.2, expulsion review, E1819-09.
I move to approve the recommendation.
Second. Please vote. Okay, excellent. 13.3, confirmation of expulsion from prior district and rehabilitation plan E1920-01.
I move to confirm the expulsion.
Okay.
I'll
Go ahead.
I'll second it.
Seconds. Okay, please vote. Okay, excellent. We got through that. Okay. Oops. Okay, Board of Education Committee reports, announcements, requests, debrief, and discussion. Member Jean, anything?
Well, welcome back. My only request is, as we're developing metrics and goals for the superintendent for his contract extension, we want to get a baseline of our current dashboard scores. I know that's not available to the public, but I hope the board can get the scores from the year 2018 to 2019.
Hey, Member Gutierrez?
I would just like, for the sake of our meetings, that we can keep some kind of equality when it comes to the speakers. I know this is a topic that I bring up every time, but if we are going to show the public that we are going to treat everyone fairly, we need to continue to abide by the 3-minute rule, and we need to continue to treat every speaker in the same manner. And if everyone's only going to get 3 minutes, then that means everyone's only going to get 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's it, thank you.
Anything else? Just piggybacking, to piggyback on Mayor Gutierrez, I think if we do the 20 seconds, what's a problem with me is interrupting somebody when they're talking. And we've always, all the years I've been here, we've been courteous, and it applies to everyone naturally. But if we let them know at 20 seconds, then that gives them time to, to finish. And then if we get to the 3 minutes, then we have a right to, and you did that already, and to let them know that 3 minutes are up, okay? And so I'm okay if we kind of control that better, and I know you help me all the time, and I appreciate it. So as far as we have the opening of school on the 15th, which is prior to the, because we have a meeting that evening. So if we can get normally what we get every year on, what's going on at each school, and I was hoping that as board members, we could visit the schools and let the superintendent know if we're going to visit a school. And I appreciated both of you being at the administrators get-together that we had today. And I think it's important that we show staff that we support them, especially with the new ones that have come in. And I think from the three of us here, superintendent and staff, we know it's been a tough summer, and we've asked you, when it comes to hiring, to wait till the end, and like our presentation said, right? You hire what you need, and then you bring back other, so we don't overstep our budget or go on beyond the budget. So well, I appreciate all that. And so if we can get that, and as far as the opening of school,
The big events. Okay.
right, the big events.
And I wouldn't mind. I'll address it when I.
Okay, okay. And then I had wanted something from you, but maybe I'll catch it before. I mentioned it earlier. What was it I mentioned earlier in the meeting? Go ahead, make your report, and I'll try to remember.
It might come back to you.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay, just a few items. First of all, the first day of school is August 15th. I definitely would encourage every board member to be out with a central office team. Just let me know what school you want to visit. Usually we stop by and just say thank you. We plan to visit each school. We're going to split them up and be out and about. I would say just if there's a school that you want to visit or a couple, just let me know. I might be able to go with you, or certainly let them know that you're coming. I like for board members to be people to be aware that they're there. So just let us know. It's a great positive thing to start the year, and I think it'd be very powerful for all of us to be out and present in schools together and showing that sense of team. Relative to the kind of the voting and just some of the mechanical parts of it, I do want us to really try to move towards the next phase of board docs, which includes voting in board docs. I think it helps keep a cleaner record. I think there's a way to track all of the actions cleaner. I have some ideas on upgrading the timer, so the person speaking has it right in front of them. So we're going to retool that. That's something that I know Shar and I have discussed, and we want to bring it forward.
If I can ask you on that, what's holding us back from doing that now?
We just were waiting. We wanted to at least have a year of trying it. Now we've done that, but now I think we're ready for the next phase, which actually captures it all in board docs. Your votes, everything's there right away. It makes it easier for Shar to keep notes and to keep the record clean. But we'll definitely take your ideas in consideration as well, Caesar. That's easy. So that's coming. We're working on that. Next item is I think that the next item is just a reminder to the board that I would like everyone to be present if they're able on the 13th at 3:30 to have our back to school rally. We haven't done one in a couple of years, and we have kind of a really fun program that day, which is largely around 4 themes. One is equity, one is working as a team, one is being kind to one another, and the last one is really everyone playing their position well. and that's what good teams do. So it's going to be kind of the positive thing. It's a short program. Then we'll release into the community barbecue, which will be exciting. And I think the last thing I would mention, I know actually Mr. Medina had mentioned the bond, but I also will bring back the recommendations of the Revenue Enhancement Committee, because it was also parcel tax. So I know you probably didn't say that, but I think that's something I know you and I have discussed that you support as well. So we'll be exploring that, and I've asked actually Mr. Schimmel to help us explore what would be the next step relative to political advisor, financial advisor, and let's get that agendized so we can start moving on those things. I'm really glad that we're moving towards solar. I know I've been trying to do that too, and it just kind of keeps slipping away, but I think it's a unique opportunity, and I really do appreciate Barry's experience with that, and I think him being here has been very helpful, so I'm going to get my day's work out of him, so, because I know he's going to bill us, so I'll get my day's work out of him, but that concludes my report. Thank you all
I
very much.
remembered, real quick, one of the things was, we were talking about Kidango and looking
okay.
at other sites, and that's a revenue, where we can raise revenue there.
Okay.
And then, the board budget for, board training. It doesn't
that's
have to
right.
be at CSBA, it could be what's locally available to new board members, whether it's Burlingame or in case they want to go to, and also to student board members.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll look in the budget.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's, what? ¿Qué hora es?
It's 9:42. Thank you, Mr. President.
Meeting adjourned.